Hester, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Hester Agadosi, and I am happy to greet you this morning. I serve as the State Chief Diversity Officer for the New Jersey Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and I'm really happy to welcome you today for a continuation of our webinar series. So you're interested in working in and with the state of New Jersey. We're focusing on the ABCs of procurement. And we are really pleased to have two veteran state employees, one from the New Jersey Department of Treasury, Division of Purchase and Property, where they are considered to be the state's procurement entity, and they procure goods and services on behalf of many of the state departments and agencies, as well as handle some of the bulk procurements that many of our counties and local municipalities can also avail themselves of. And similarly, we have Wes Coleman from Rutgers University. If you were able to participate on our call, our webinar on Monday, one of the things that you learned is that Rutgers University is different. It's unique in terms of its procurement process, and that's according to statute. So we're really thrilled to have Wes Coleman here to talk to you about procurement for the Rutgers University, our state university. But before I turn it over to our presenters, I just want to go through a little bit of the housekeeping. First, you know that these procurement webinar series are designed to really help equip you to be able to be informed and to be able to show up your best self, because we hope that you'll be joining us on December 9th for our 2020 Minority Women Veteran-Owned Business Virtual Marketplace Exchange Summit. I know that's a mouthful. I try not to mess up that title, but it's an opportunity for you virtually to meet with all of our state departments, agencies, authorities, colleges, universities. We have representation on a federal level, a county level, prime contractors, and some of our large corporate partners will be there. It's going to be a full day of procurement matchmaking sessions, and you'll also have networking opportunities by visiting many of the virtual exhibit booths that will be staffed by these entities. So in order for you to make best of your time there, you really need to have this foundational understanding of how to do business in the state of New Jersey. And this week, understanding the procurement process, the language of procurement, will make you well-versed as you attempt to onboard your business into public or private contracting. So with that being said, in the chat, there is a link to the registration website. Registration is free for diverse businesses, minority, women, veteran-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses. So there is no reason why you should not be there, because we are making all of this available to you free of charge from wherever you are. Secondly, I want to just go over some housekeeping. The session itself will be 1 hour, 45-minute presentation, and then we will reserve 15 minutes for questions and answers. I'm going to ask you to keep your questions reserved to the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, we will be monitoring the chat box throughout and directing your questions as appropriate to the speakers. Also, I'm going to ask if you could, although we've attempted to do this administratively, but nonetheless, there are some glitches. So I'm going to ask if you could please, if you're a participant, please mute yourself and please turn off your video. I see some lovely faces and you all are lovely, but we want everyone to really be focused on our presenters and on the PowerPoint presentations and not on the faces in the screen. So I am going to turn off my video, and I'm going to ask everyone to please at this time turn off your video. Still see some faces. So again, if you can turn off your video. Roy, Bonnie, John. That would be, okay, John, Andrade, You could turn off your video, please. Thank you. And at this time, I am going to turn the presentation over to Amy Davis.
Thank you, Hester. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. My name is Amy Davis, and I will be speaking today about the exciting contracting opportunities available at the Division of Purchase and Property under the Department of Treasury. Next. The Division of Purchase and Property, also known as DPP, is located within the Department of Treasury, and we serve as the state's central procurement agency. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. What that means is DPP is responsible for procuring the vast majority of contracts for state agencies, but is not all inclusive. DPP has no authority concerning contracts that are administered by independent departments, authorities, or agencies with its own procurement authority. Next. Our mission at DPP is to professionally and ethically procure the best value products and services in a timely and cost-effective manner in accordance with our laws to enable client agencies to meet their objectives. Next. There are several different procurement options that are available to state agencies. So the first thing a state agency will do, of course, is check current available state contracts. If there is a current state contract available, the state agency must utilize that contract. However, if there is no current state contract available, the agencies have something called Delegated Purchasing Authority, also known as DPA. And what that means is if an agency has a need for a good or a type of service, and right now the threshold is up to $44,000. As long as the cost of that good or service does not exceed $44,000, they have been authorized to go ahead and make that purchase independently without the Division of Purchase and Property. And they can do that by following the state circular concerning DPA purchases, and they can go and solicit on their own quotes from vendors and obtain pricing and then decide which vendor they will award the DPA to. The next option is request for proposal, a RFP. This is the formal public advertised contract. The majority of the agencies do not have their own independent contracting authority, so the majority of agencies do come to DPP and request that our staff work with them to develop a scope of work, to then advertise it publicly, to evaluate the quotes, then select a vendor and award the contract. We also have something called cooperative purchasing contracts. Now, this can be other states that have actually procured certain goods and services and have allowed other state entities to join them to build purchasing power. We also have a National Association of State Procurement Officers, also known as NASPO. And NASPO has their own contracts that can comprise of several states. So this is another opportunity for you to pursue contracting opportunities with them as well, in addition to state contracts. We also have GSA schedules, which are federal contracts that allow states, again, to utilize those contracts. So you should pursue opportunities with them as well. But the vast majority of contracts are procured in our state and our New Jersey contracts. The last option is waiver of advertising. This is only for a small, unique group of contracts. And there are statutory exceptions that allow agencies in unique circumstances to not have to do a formal advertised contract, such as the request for proposal, also known as an RFP. So this would be for a situation where perhaps there's a sole source, right? There's only one vendor available who does this. or it's such an extreme public agency that you don't have the time to go through the steps in a RFP process. Again, it's not a large group of contracts, but in those opportunities, the majority of them still the agency has to go out and solicit at a minimum 3 vendors and obtain quotes. Next. So DPP procures goods and services contracts in excess of the current DPA threshold, which I stated recently just increased. It was 40,000 and it went up to 44,000 per fiscal year on behalf of state agencies. At DPP, we do have 4 procurement units. We have commodities. They are responsible for procuring the stuff, right? The goods. It may be trucks, it may be chicken nuggets, pretty self-explanatory. We also have general services for items such as snow plowing, court reporting, perhaps wastewater treat management. We also have technology and professional environmental services, you know, things like consultants, accounting, advertising services, and such. We have 40 procurement specialists. There's a specialist assigned to each contract. We have 700 contract portfolios, but then we have 2,200 vendor contracts. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we do have several contracts that are not a sole award, they're multi-vendor, which is exciting because it's another opportunity to include even more vendors, you know, give even greater business to a vast majority of people as opposed to only making a single award. And that is decided if the contract is appropriate to have a multi-award. A perfect example would be, again, be snow plowing, auto repair, car towing, just to mention a few, where it would be impossible to have a single vendor really provide that service across our state. And every contract, once it is awarded, is assigned a state contract manager from the using agency. And that's important. So that person is responsible for coordinating efforts with the vendor, making sure that the contract is administered properly, acts as a contact person between our organization for reprocurement and also the vendor or vendors who have the current contract. Next. So I mentioned the state's cooperative purchasing program a little bit. And again, the state decides when they are going to procure a contract, whether or not this contract is the type that should be opened, not just to state agencies, but also to certain eligible local buying units. And again, this is a very exciting opportunity, not just for municipalities, counties, school boards, et cetera, to be able to utilize state contracts and save on their limited resources, but also it's very exciting for vendors because now not only do they have the opportunity to do business for state agencies, they have access to perhaps all these other units that may be in need of their services, and hence their revenue could dramatically increase. So cooperative purchasing is a collaborative effort. We're, you know, trying to obtain the benefits of the best pricing, best quality product, and obviously put contract process efficiencies in place for public purchasing entities throughout the state of New Jersey. Next. Now, not everyone is eligible, but these are the entities that have been deemed by law to be eligible to participate if the contract is determined by the state to be open to cooperative purchasing. And the way a vendor would know that is simply when the contracting opportunity is advertised, it is going to tell you. And it also be an NJ Start, which I'll talk a little bit about later, if it is open or not. So these are the entities. I'm not going to read them off, but you can see, I think it's a great list of contracting opportunities. And definitely that is very worthwhile in the state. Next. So let's talk about the actual procurement process. I know there are a lot of laws in New Jersey, and this is a niche area. And for a business that hasn't historically um, been engaged in state business, it can be a daunting task. But it really is, it isn't so bad. And this is to help you guide you through the basic steps. So what happens first is, of course, the state agency has to have a need for the goods or the services, right? So we don't put contracts in place where there isn't a need. We simply don't have the resources. That's what happens first. The second thing that happens is the state agency would then send a request to our central intake unit, setting forth all the information, what they're looking for, why they need it, except the state contract manager, the contact person, et cetera. Then this gets assigned to the appropriate contract unit, whether it be commodities, general services, et cetera. It's then reviewed by a procurement specialist, and that procurement specialist works with the contact at the agency, again, to finalize the specs, ask any questions, to get it ready to publicly advertise. The specialist finalizes the RFP, and then it is advertised. And all vendors who are registered on NJ Start, and you have registered by commodity code, so we have an idea of what work you're interested in. Even some people may register under every commodity code. That's up to you. As long as you have done that, you will receive an email blast letting you know that this particular bid solicitation has been advertised. And you will see how long you have to submit a bid. And any other information, you certainly should not procrastinate. If you're interested, you should start reading it immediately to make sure you don't miss out on this great opportunity. Bidders may also email any questions they have. There is a designated Q&A period, a start and an end date. So again, it's very important to start reading it as quickly as possible so you don't miss out on asking any questions that you may have before it's too late. Next. So once vendors ask questions, DPP reviews them with the agency, and all the answers are posted on NJ Start. The bid deadline is published. The procurement specialist and perhaps the agency will evaluate the bids that are received. They have the option, if they decide to do so, to ask for a best and final offer, also known as a BAFO. They will then issue a notice of intent to award. There is a statutory protest period if anyone has a reason to believe that they should have received the award. Unfortunately, most vendors will say, well, I think I should have just gotten it, and not really provide any justification. That really has no legal standing, and you will not be successful. But by statute, you have the right to engage in that if you so choose and think you have a legal justification. And then, of course, there's the contract award. Next. We also have the complaint process, and this to me is important for vendors to know before you get into the game of trying to be awarded state contracts. So agencies have the responsibility at any time during the contract, if a vendor is not living up to its requirements set forth in the RFP and the contract, if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they're not timely, if the quality is not up to par, they have a legal fiduciary duty to file a formal complaint with DPP, with the unit I'm involved in called the Contract Compliance and Audit Unit, also known as CCAU. And this is very important because vendors, you want to give your best performance, and you want to make sure that you have a great relationship with the state agency so you're not barred from future opportunities. Next slide. So again, this is really, pointing out that agencies have to do this. They're not doing the job if they don't do it. And the reason you don't want to have complaints filed against you is because you don't want to be barred from future contracting opportunities, which may happen. However, vendors are afforded due process just because an agency files a complaint against you, you absolutely have the right. We will provide you with what they've stated. You will have the opportunity to respond. And sometimes complaints, while they have been filed, are not found against the vendor because we don't feel that it's justified. It has to be for a violation, something that was stated in the contract. Next. So this is the exciting part, right? How do I get a state contract? I'm ready, I'm interested. The first thing you have to do is register on NJ Start. There's the website address, www.njstart.com. You should absolutely select what relevant commodity codes you're interested in. Complete your vendor profile under terms and categories. Get a head start. Start filling out the forms, upload the forms. It's less that you have to do later. It makes you then a more attractive vendor to state agencies. You also have to obtain a business registration certificate, also known as the BRC, from the Division of Revenue, and I've provided their website link as well. Next. NJ Star is our e-procurement system, and it's fantastic. It's one-stop shopping. You can go to NJ Star. Once you're registered, you can see all the current bid solicitations. You also get those great email blasts I talked about, depending on what commodity codes you've registered for. You can also see what are the current state contracts that we already have, because there may not be a current contracting opportunity that you're interested in, but there may be a current state contract that when it's reprocured, you will be interested in bidding upon. So why not get a head start? Look at that current state contract. You can actually see the RFP that was sent out, the advertisement, and you can get an idea of, hey, when that becomes available and the expiration date of that contract will be listed, I have a head start on knowing how I might prepare my proposal. Now, granted, the advertisements may change over time, obviously, and requirements differ, but it gives you a general idea. There's also public agency and vendor reference guides, there's videos, there's frequently asked questions, and there's a great help desk support contact information. So please utilize that. Last time I checked, we were over 35,000 vendors registered. So the process is working and we have people to assist you. Next.
Amy, I'm just going to go back for 1 second. Some people are asking for the links.
Oh, sure. So again, the most important link, www.njstart.com. All right, and we're wrapping up. Don't be shy. So take a look at our website. You can see the forms and information, www.nj.gov/treasury/purchase. Again, view those state contracts and bid opportunities at www.njstart.gov. There's our help desk information and phone number. An email address is probably the best way during the pandemic to reach people. Next. I think that may be the last slide.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Amy, for that presentation, chock full of information. Again, I'm going to ask all participants if you can please turn your video off. I can see you, Michael. Thank you. Again, please don't worry. The information that is being conveyed to you is being recorded. The decks will be made available to you. I am getting a lot of questions in the chat and also just separately through our emails regarding when the information will be available to you. We have, because we've been producing these webinars rapid fire, so it's going to take a minute just for us to go through all of that and get it uploaded, but we will have them uploaded. We'll have the decks available on ODI's website, And we will also have them available to you in the virtual lobby of the Marketplace Exchange Summit on December 9th. So having said that, I'd like to now introduce to you, oh, Wes, you're showing you're popping up? Oh, okay, no problem. I'd like to introduce to you Wes Coleman, who is with Rutgers University. Wes is a veteran procurement professional, has been at Rutgers University for 6 years, is going to give you an overview of what the process is for Rutgers, because everything that you've heard from Amy, there may be many things that may be applicable, but Rutgers is, as it relates to its procurement, is subject to a different statute. So there are some differences as it relates to the process. And Wes is going to walk you through that now. Thank you, Wes.
Yes, thank you, Hester, and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about the nature of purchasing at Rutgers University, and thank you for kicking it off, Amy. So just want to start the process to, my slide's not advancing. So just to tell you a little bit about procurement services. So we handle most of the purchasing for the different units, departments within Rutgers University. As Amy mentioned, there is delegated purchasing authority. So dining services, they have delegated purchasing authority for some of their food operations, as well as Office of General Counsel, as well as IP&O for some of the construction related projects over $2 million. So just to talk to you a little bit about what we buy at Rutgers. So this is kind of a few of the, not an exhaustive list, but some of the things that we purchase. So they typically fall within a couple of different buckets of how we're structured internally within procurement services. So that's business services, information technology, professional services, facilities, and medical and research. So that's kind of the general makeup of how we're structured internally based on these types of different commodities. So to speak more so of how sourcing of goods and services works at the university, so by policy, the first thing that units or departments should do is seek goods or service from an internal supplier. An internal supplier is a university unit that provides goods or services to another university unit. For example, we have the Office of Information Technology. So in some spaces, they build websites for other departments. We also have facilities teams. If the office needs painting, sometimes they will engage the service of our facilities team to do that. So that's the first typical option that typically units should follow. So if they can't get something from an internal supplier, the guidance is that they should consider a university contracted supplier. A university contracted supplier is a supplier with whom Rutgers has an active contract, which was either competitively bid or negotiated with suppliers that meet the requirements for a waiver of bid procurement, which Amy spoke to earlier. Just to include, these agreements may also include state contracts or group or cooperative purchasing agreements that the university may utilize. So Amy hit key on state contracts. We do take advantage of those from a pricing quality standpoint. In addition to NASPO and some of the others, we do use E&I cooperative services. They do have a supply diversity program. If you go to their website, you'll be able to see that information and sign up to get more involved with the opportunities they have, so we can leverage you in that space as well. So please do that. So if a unit follows internal supplier, they can't seem to get their goods or services there. If they can't get it from a university contracted supplier, then the preferred method is that they then can go out and source from follow one of the sourcing methods that's identified in our procurement policy. So these are the typical sourcing methods that they can follow if they cannot seem to find it from an internal supplier or a university-wide contract. So these are the sourcing methods, and it's basically dependent by the various thresholds. You will see our thresholds are significant, a bit different from what you may find at another higher ed institution. I know Rowan, Stockton are generally around 34,000 before something needs a typical bid. So for purchases below 10,000, a department really has delegated purchasing authority. So typically they would go out and source and get one quote, and that would typically meet their needs. So procurement is not involved for purchases below 10,000 unless it's a type of restricted item such as technology or maybe live animals from the research space. So for that option below 10,000, you need one quote. So for purchases totaling 10,000, at least 10,000 and below 150,000, departments are really have authority to conduct an informal bid. So, they go out, seek the quotes. And at this point, they do the due diligence from their perspective. Procurement does review at this point. But again, it's a little bit of delegated authority for the department to really follow up with this process. And then when it gets to purchases that are 150,000 and greater, that's when university procurement steps in, consults with the unit that's making the purchases and conducts a sealed bid or competitive proposal process. And if that's not an option, as Amy mentioned, for goods and services that are above 10,000, where there's maybe typically one sole source provider that is with sufficient justification that is the case, then that is an option as well. So the point I want to make here is that really the departments have a lot of leeway, even in the 150,000 or greater. University procurement is involved, but the departments typically initiate the process for all of these various buckets. And what we're a little bit different with at Rutgers is that we don't typically publicly advertise opportunities. So really, when the departments put these forward, they have a list of suppliers that they would like to include as part of the opportunity, and procurement will look at that list and add accordingly. So we do have commitments to small businesses, minority businesses, that our internal procurement team will look to include that as part of the solicitation. So in terms of evaluation of awards, so procurement services works with the unit to assess each proposal to determine which represents the best value to the university. The university looks to award contracts to responsible suppliers possessing the ability to meet the detailed requirements, as well as our terms and conditions. Consideration is given to suppliers that meet technical requirements, have a can demonstrate a record of past performance and financial viability, and suppliers will be notified of the bid results by university procurement services. In terms of setup requirements, if a unit wants to do business with a supplier, the supplier must have an active record in our supplier portal. So if a supplier is not in the system, the unit completes the process to invite that supplier to be provide that particular good or services. So really, this is our supplier portal is just a portal of all the active businesses. So if you're a prospective supplier, that's when I will point you to register. I'll give you information later in the presentation of where you can sign up to be as part of our prospective supplier database. So just to show that information, like once, if you're already in the system, that's a great thing. If a department wants to do business with you, they're going to send you an invitation. And what you'll be required to present as part of that is your name as it appears on the W-9, your address, your email address, your tax ID, social security number, phone number, and a signed W-9. So all of that will be required of you at the time that a particular unit department reaches out and wants to sign you up. So you need to have that information readily and available. Later on, at some point, we will, in terms of, we don't collect it there, but your business registration certificate will be required as well. And so what our actual portal does is check for debarments and different things to let us know if there's any risk involved. In terms of tips that I would, recommendations, so definitely familiarize yourself with our terms and conditions, typical net payment terms, net 45, but we do reduce that significantly for small businesses that can demonstrate that they are certified, they are small businesses, as well as just to review our procurement and payment policy. Do your homework, get to know us, what we buy, areas of opportunity. This is the part I say to sign up with us, complete the supplier registration form on our website, and you can send to that email address, or you can send it to me, which I will have my information on the last slide. Contact the units, campus liaisons, because really this is typically relationships, as you can see from our thresholds and the freedom that our individual departments have. So really, I'm a champion for you on the internal, but at the same time, I recommend that you reach out to these unit individuals. So the campus liaisons, so we have our liaisons for our Camden campuses, our Newark campuses, our New Brunswick campus. And all of this information is on our university procurement services website, which I have on the last slide as well. So you can find those key contacts there as well. In terms of units, there are a vast number of units throughout the university. So on our supply diversity page on the website, there's a business unit spreadsheet. So it kind of gives you the different units. If you just want to get an idea of, who they are. So that may help you kind of target specific areas that you want to reach out to. Another tip is just to have a good reputation for services and reliability. Just in my past experience, that has gone a long way. I can call you up today, you can perform something of good quality in the next 2 days or 3 days. Really, the way it works is that typically the departments don't give you a lot of wiggle room or time. So they reach out and then they want something tomorrow, the next day. If you have contacts with the university, you've already done business with the university, ask those individuals for referrals. Network is important. So attend campus activities like our Rutgers Day event. We typically have that in April. So what that has is pretty much the various departments throughout the university are in attendance at these events. So it's a good opportunity for you to network, meet with these departments, and introduce your offerings. Keep your website up to date. That's important because when we're referring your information, passing your information along, we're giving these individual units, departments, your website information. So if it's not up to date and they are not able to find the information that they need, they may move on to the next supplier. And to that, create a capability statement so you can quickly demonstrate, the company, your certifications, past performance, and things that will help, better market yourself. Also obtain diversity certifications. Again, we do adhere to the federal regulations. We do receive grant funding from the federal government for research opportunities. So we must adhere to the small business concern goals that they have as part of that. So, when we report, we do want to make sure that certifications are valid, they're up to date, just from an auditing standpoint. Also use resources such as the PTACs if you need help with RFPs. I know the RFPs can be daunting in size, but there are resources available that will help walk you through RFPs. Don't let that hinder you. So the PTAC actually helps you with capability statements and RFPs. So I definitely would recommend following up with the PTACs. Connect with the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers. We have one on each of our campuses. So not only do they help you grow in capacity, but they also have networks throughout the university that you could leverage. So just want to share some of those tips, as well as our business school. You can look into our business school. There's various opportunities offered through our business school. We have the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development. So they have a lot of different programs that they run. Again, it may be something you can take advantage of to help grow your business. But again, they have multiple business owners that complete these programs and may give you the opportunity to network, further network, as well as to, our business school have relationships throughout campus as well that you could leverage as well. So that is some of the high level information of our procurement. So for more information, here's our website information. That's my contact name. And please, you can reach out to me. I realize some of your questions may be individual specific, so I can help guide you and walk you through the best course of action moving forward. Okay, and that wraps up my part of the presentation.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Wes, as well as for you, Amy. I think that all of our participants will agree that this has been just chock full of really valuable, pertinent information for business owners. And so I thank you on behalf of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion for sharing that information and providing these decks. And as I indicated, we will make them available to the participants. So not to worry. And we're just going to move now into some of the questions, and I'm going to go from the most recent and work my way back up. Do you have a preference for, and I guess this is open to both you, Wes and Amy. The question is, if there's a preference as it relates to contracting for New Jersey-based businesses, whether or not there's a preference.
So this is Amy. No, there is not. There are certain legal set-asides, and if the contract has been set aside for one of those entities, then that would be the preference.
Yes, and this is Wes. So at the current moment, there are no preferences for NJ businesses as well. But we do have local commitments. Part of our campus initiatives is to have local initiatives that you can take advantage of. We currently have one in Newark. So if you're a Newark supplier, please, follow up. We can connect you with the right people.
Thank you. Wes, a question for you. How do we contact the units of campus liaisons that you mentioned?
So really, that's kind of the database on the website. It's a business unit spreadsheet. So really, its email address is, it's high turnover in some of those departments as far as contacts. So really, if you go to the supplier diversity page on the website, there's a business unit contact. So it's more of, gives you the opportunity to see the departments of which you may want to reach out to, and then their website information as well. And if you can identify, if you want to reach out on your own, the business manager, if you can identify the business manager, because they control the money. So you would want to make sure you contact them if you can get that information.
Thank you. Next question. Hello, I'm a small transportation company and would like to connect to procurements that are looking for my type of service. Is there an area or a department I can directly connect with to source information? Can I use njstart.com website, I guess, as a source? Or whomever would be able to address that.
Sure. So absolutely. NJ Start, like I said in my presentation, has not only current contracting opportunities and future opportunities, but has all current state contracts that DPP has procured. So that is your best reference to start exploring and researching what contract opportunities either currently exist or will exist in the future.
Thank you for that, Amy. Another question, Wes, someone had commented about the supplier portal that you mentioned. They said that about a year ago, it looked like it wasn't ready. So they just wanted to know, is it operating now?
No, we're actually still working with our current supplier portal, active supplier, to see if they can provide a solution. So they have not been able to do that as of yet. So it's still work in progress.
Okay, so.
But for now, they can still follow the typical process that we have in place. It's just that we have not automated at this point, which we're looking to do.
Okay, because there's a question, how do we register in the supplier portal? And how do you apply for the supplier list? And how do you get invited to become a supplier? So
Okay.
those are three
A couple of
questions.
different things.
Right, so we'll take them one at a time. How do you register in the supplier portal?
So again, the supplier portal that I mentioned is that's for active suppliers that's doing business. So that's separate from prospective suppliers. So if you're looking to become a supplier, then I believe it was the second and last slide. There's a form. So you go to our website, there's a form, and you would email it back with the pertinent information. And that's the directory of which we would include you in our internal database, more of the prospective supplier database.
And then you also mentioned about being invited, I believe, and someone asked a question on that. How do I get invited to become a supplier?
So part of that is really, when you register, that information becomes available to our internal buying team. So if they're soliciting and putting together supplier lists, they would have access to your information there, as well as, again, the individual units. That's why connection with them is important, because they're the initial ones putting of who they want to be included on part of opportunities. So they start the process, and we want to make sure there's a connection there as well.
Okay, Wes, you're the man of the moment right now. Next
Mhm.
question for you is, what are viable reasons for sole source awards, and are preferences given to New Jersey-based vendors?
Okay. So just to back up, I didn't make a point on that last one, but if it's a plug for the December 9th event. So I will have some of my colleagues in procurement that are closely working on certain contracts. So they will be there on December 9th. So that'll be a good opportunity as far as getting on lists. You'll have some of the right people in the room on that. Just wanted to throw that in there. But as
I appreciate the plug.
yeah, but for sole source, those are justifiably, those have to be highly unique or specialized. Like in our research space, there's certain technology from a research, different microscopes and different things that's highly specialized that would, where there only may be one supplier that can provide that actual telescope or whatever the case may be. So, and then there's also, we receive grants where there's requirements by grants that, certain things have to be utilized, certain goods or so the case. So those are really the justifications of sole source.
Okay, I'm looking for, I think this, it may be to you, Wes or Amy, if you can answer. The question is, I'm looking for professional services, civil engineering services. How do we find out about design work?
So as I've already mentioned, NJ Start, again, is your best resource. So you can go on NJ Start once you're registered, and you can see if there's any current bidding opportunities, or if, what current engineering contracts we have. And you can also do that by registering by commodity code. All the contracts are entered in that way by commodity code, so it is searchable. If you have any difficulties searching, that's why we have an email address and a telephone number for you to reach out to our NJ Start vendor admin team and contact them, and they'll walk you through it.
Thank you, Amy.
Just to know,
Rutgers-
from an engineering perspective, we do have our facilities team, so they do have a pre-qualification process, and it's on their website. If you want to look into that as well.
Thank you, Wes. Another Rutgers question. Does Rutgers have an approved vendor list, and are all bids made public?
So as far as an approved list, I mean, really there's the university-wide contracted supplier. So those are, it's internal supplier, then university contracted supplier. So outside of that, it's not really an approved list. Again, if you register and your information is available to our team, that's the best option there. And then the second question was, an invitation. So really, again, it's a invite. They invite suppliers. It's not an advertised opportunity. So the supplier lists are put together between the departments and procurement services. So that's why we need to mix.
Sorry, I was going to piggyback on that, because I know we get this question asked often, and that's one of the things that would be helpful, I believe, to the business owners is how do they, because we understand it's relationships, right? And I'm talking specifically to you now, Wes, because of the fact that, as you indicated, from 150,000 down, it's really up to the departments. They can procure with whomever they want. Your department kicks in for 150,000 and more. So what are some of the ways that you would suggest? I know you indicated the Rutgers Day. Are there some other things that you have found to be successful for businesses to start connecting and establishing relationships with some of these department heads? And if you could clarify who in the department, who's the person that they need to have on their radar to try to connect with?
Yeah, so I would say the best person is, again, is the business manager, because they control most of the money, and the way the workflow works within our purchasing system, you have a department approver that really approves off on requisitions, orders, or anything that goes along. So the business manager at some point has the ability to approve those. So that would be, and then they're involved with meetings, and it's vocalized the importance of, small business minority participation. So those will be individuals in the departments to, have a contact with those individuals. As far as strategies, I mean, it varies. I've had success as far as, I mean, again, it's networking. So, some individuals have actually joined an organization, and there's been, Rutgers people that purchase things. So they were able to establish a relationship just by joining an organization where there was another Rutgers person involved. There's opportunities, through the business school, like I mentioned. There's, if you get involved with the business school, they have relationships. They are proactive with campus and reaching out to say, hey, we have, we brought these businesses, they've grown capacity, they've shown due diligence, please utilize these suppliers. So, I mean, it's just different angles that you can, kind of tackle, and I'm here to support you as well. And I will say that we've been in talks with leadership to actually put a little bit more teeth into requirements for small minority participation going forward. So there may be some targets and things set to kind of help push that along.
Thank you for that, Wes.
Mhm.
Rutgers question again, does Rutgers purchase translation services?
Yes, we do. To follow up with me, I'll get you more information on that as well.
Okay. So this is a question, I think, Amy, that you may be able to shed some light on. Once an RFP is awarded for a new product category, can other agencies automatically purchase against that contract as a cooperative purchasing agreement?
So to kind of break that question into two. So once a contract is awarded, and also look at the effective date, right? Sometimes contracts don't start the exact day it's awarded, but may, be in 30 days, et cetera, and certainly after the protest period. But yes, once a contract is awarded and is now put into effect, you can absolutely, any state agency can start utilizing that contract. Now, as far as cooperative entities, the municipalities, the counties, et cetera, all those entities that I showed you on my slide, they can also start utilizing that contract, but if and only if that contract was open to our cooperative entities. And again, as I stated, you will know that because it would have been advertised that it was open to cooperatives.
Thank you, Amy. Another question for you. Does the state issue any kind of report based on services or goods that different agencies may need in the coming year? For example, how might we find out which agencies will have a need for architectural services?
So remember, I told you that if agencies have a need for goods or services, and the cost of that is going to be below the delegated purchasing authority of what is currently 44,000, they have the authority to go procure those goods or services on their own. And I wouldn't know about that need. Sometimes agencies do put advertisements on their own web pages, but also I know they do research and they solicit vendors and obtain quotes. As far as contracting services that exceed the delegated purchasing authority of 44,000, those are advertised. Like I said, the vast majority of those contracts are procured through DPP and are advertised on NJ Start. So that's why I told you not only look for current bidding opportunities, but also research the current existing contracting database of existing contracts on NJ Start and look at the expiration date of those contracts. So most contracts are a base term of 3 years with 2 permissible 1-year extensions. That's not set in stone for every contract, but for the vast majority. So most cases, on average, a contract lasts for 5 years. So again, you can start looking now under your area of expertise and service or goods that you provide. What are the current existing contracts? When do they expire? And then you will know when those contracting opportunities on or about are expected to occur. And because you're all going to register on NJ Start, I'm sure several of you already have, you will also get that exciting email blast telling you when something has been advertised. And you will review it quickly and get all the details and absolutely know how long you have to submit that bid. And you will read that RFP from cover to cover, no doubt, and make sure that you are providing all the required information so that your company is not found to be non-responsive and won't be eligible for that award.
Thank you for that, Amy. We're still getting questions about how to get access to NJ Start. That may be because people are entering into the webinar at different times. So can we just put that information in the chat, Sir Franz, again for the link to NJ Start? Next question, will procurement opportunities for MBE, WBE, and SBE have a set-aside component? I can answer that the state of New Jersey does not have an MBE or WBE set-aside. Presently in the state of New Jersey for DPP, our set-asides are limited to the small business set-aside, SBE, and the service disabled veteran-owned business set-aside. And I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add to that, Amy, but I think that covers it.
No, that's correct, Hester. That's set by statute. So I don't have, any discretion over that. Those are the current legal set-asides that exist in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you. Question, good morning. Please advise if this is only for New Jersey contractors or contractors certified with New York, New Jersey, and PA. So I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to give that to both you and Amy and Wes. They want to know whether or not, for purposes of being integrated into the state supply chain or in Rutgers supply chain, do they have to be a New Jersey contractor or certified with New York, New Jersey Port Authority?
From a Rutgers perspective, you don't have to be in New Jersey for us to do business with you. Again, we do, ask that you get certified so that we can actually identify you with your respective classification. But again, it doesn't have to be in New Jersey.
Right, I echo that as well. You don't have to be located in New Jersey to obtain a state contract. And as far as requirements and certifications, that's in accordance with what New Jersey law is. We're not concerned with certifications and other states' laws. So you need to make sure that you get a BRC in New Jersey and register accordingly and follow whatever New Jersey sets as requirements to do business in New Jersey.
Well, we are now at 11 o'clock, and I think that's a great end point, that you do not have to be a New Jersey business in order to do business with the state of New Jersey. We are open for business. We want to ensure that our diverse business community, our small business community, has access to information so that you can be a part of our supply chain as well. I'd like to again thank Wes Coleman and Amy Davis for the time that they spent with us this morning, really going into the how-tos of procurement from their respective departments. And again, the information has been recorded. The decks will be made available as well as the recordings. Make sure that you sign up for the registration for the December 9th summit. That's a great opportunity for you to meet with representatives in Amy's shop at DPP, as well as representatives from procurement in Wes's shop at Rutgers University, as well as the many other public and private institutions who will be available with their procurement officials, not only for matchmaking, but also for networking opportunities at their virtual exhibit booths. So thank you. We will be sending out information as the webinar series continues through and up until the day of the summit. Have a wonderful day.